recently you did a blog, and we've spoken about it on the ITSM weekly podcast, the Rest of the World edition, about giving back to the ITSM community. And the reason I'm bringing metrics in here, that's one area that I think we could give back to the ITSM community. We could be much better at specifying specific templates, specific outputs, good measurements, and actions that we should be taking against metrics. So let me ask you first of all about giving back to the ITSM community. What's happening with that? Because I know it's been a personal kind of program of yours, and dragging metrics into what you think we could do as a community.
So the idea of giving back to the IT service management community comes from a number of thoughts or observations that I've made as an analyst. I mean, the first is that we look at ITIL, and whilst there is a great deal of good stuff, common sense in ITIL, nearly 2,000 pages, it's probably impractical for most IT service management practitioners, and hence things like Malcolm's ITIL Lightbook are far more relevant. But beyond that, I can't help think that whilst we have had ITIL or IT service management professionalism for the last 20 years, say, so many people within so many organisations are still struggling with it. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. And then combined with that, we have an awful lot of people making an awful lot of money out of ITIL, and it sort of grates me a little that it is somewhat of a cash cow, yet there is no recognition of the people who are handing over their money not gaining everything that they hope to achieve through ITIL adoption or any other IT service management related framework, methodology, standard, etc. So to me, we're never going to get away from ITIL. It's a juggernaut. So many people have a vested interest. So many people benefit from it also. So what I think is that we have to sort of work in the space around ITIL. And the giving back premise is based on the fact that there already are a lot of people giving back, whether it be vendors with white papers or webinars, or special interest groups via the ITSMF or HDI or SDI. So there are already people giving back, and of course the people who contribute to the ITIL books as well. They're not paid for it, as far as I know. They are giving back to the community. But what I think we need is something that's more specific, more focused, more relevant to the here and now. So for instance, as an analyst, a lot of analysts will say this is what it's going to be like in 5 years' time. People want to know what it's going to be like in 5 minutes' time, most of the time. Or an analyst will write a 10 to 15 page report. I know I've written 300 page reports, but what they prefer maybe is a 600 word blog that's very succinct, whether it's a template or a checklist, something like that. So what I want to do, and it's still in the formulation stage, is just provide a mechanism through which we can firstly identify where people would like the help, because I know where I think they need the help, but that's probably different to what they actually need. The second thing then is to translate where they need the help into some actionable items that they can use. And I'm hoping that in many instances something will already be available, so we won't have to reinvent the wheel. It might come from an organisation that excels in IT financial management, say. It might come from a vendor that has some IP that it's willing to share, or a consultancy. Or we might have to collectively create something that fits the gap. But the main thing is to identify the gaps and to be visibly seen to be addressing some of the gaps. Where we end up, I really don't know, but I think we can leverage everyone who wants to be part of the community, and maybe use someone like the ITSMF to hang a lot of this stuff off and use them as the central hub, whereas we are the spokes. I'm not looking for a central database of information, because we've got Google, and if you really wanted to find something, you could. What we miss with Google, though, is the validation of whatever information we find. That I tweet random facts, and then people say, no, that's a myth. And in many respects, we have to be careful of giving people the wrong information. The LinkedIn group effect, shall we say, where you ask a simple question, you get 1,001 replies, information overload, and it's not much help. So if just linking this back into the metrics question, so I get asked a lot of the time, what metrics should I be using? And it really is, how much is a piece of string? But I think what we can do is have a set of principles, maybe some key metrics that are applicable, that we can give to people, and we can allow them to build on what has already been created.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Malcolm, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, just one thought, Pat. I call it sounds silly, I know, self-service service management. That IT has got to start getting the confidence to allow business managers and business staff to have access to their technologies for service management. It's been around for some time, like opening incidents and do it, but I think what we really need to look at is a proper app that sits on a BlackBerry iPhone or something similar, where you can tap on it and you'll have an icon for change, an icon for incident, icon for asset, whatever. And as a manager, I can click on any of those, and I can then have an interactive relationship with the stats and the information and the knowledge that's being collated all the time. I just think IT needs to step up to that plate and say, we can't keep doing all this on behalf. I don't know what the figures are, but I suspect the vast majority of organisations do not allow their customers to open incidents, close incidents, update incidents. And IT's got to get the confidence, because they will do it anyway, confidence to let that happen. And I think self-service service management is absolutely critical to the future of IT.
Okay, thanks, Malcolm. That was great. I always enjoy talking to these guys, because every time I have a conversation, I learn something new. So, Malcolm, thank you. Stephen, thank you. And I'm sure we'll chat again soon.